Now, most people that scream about corporate welfare are also great proponents of the green agenda, which a lot of which comes through the solar panel situation. Now, when you study the whole thing about solar panels, here's what it comes down to. Folks who are involved in solar panels are helping forced labor happen in China. Seriously, that's what's going on there. There is a ton of forced labor that's involved with it. Now, solar panels, most people don't realize this. Let's give you a quick overview. While the percentage of finished solar panels in the U.S. that are made in China is relatively low due to tariffs and imports from other countries like Mexico, over 80% of the components used in panels sold in the U.S. are manufactured in China. China dominates the global solar supply chain, producing the vast majority of the necessary parts such as polysilicon wafers and cells, making it challenging to find panels with a completely non-Chinese supply chain. Finished solar panels, low percentage of finished panels. Despite tariffs, a very small percentage of finished solar panels import directly into the U.S. from China. Primary sources of finished panels. A majority of finished panel imports come from countries like Mexico, Vietnam, Thailand, and Malaysia. But solar power components. The majority of the supply chain for finished solar panels is located in China, which estimates suggesting over 80% of components are manufactured there. Um, Polysilicon, which is a very necessary supply. 79 to 83% of that comes from China. 97% of the wafer parts of the solar panels come from China. 85% of the cells come from China. This means that even panels assembled in the U.S., are often American branded, frequently use components manufactured in China, making it difficult to find a panel with completely non-Chinese supply chain. Now, I'm going to cover how this is a forced labor situation and also how it's corporate welfare via state and federal governments are helping this along. But first, we're going to get into it's coming from some site called ChinaFile.com. Renewable energy still comes from cost of forced labor. It needs to be stopped. So, we're going to cover this. Now, hit like and subscribe if you want to know what's going on the federal, state, or local level government. Seriously, folks, I'm going to cover these things. Every little bit of information helps you understand what's really going on. I'm well aware that some folks go, "Well, you're a redneck. You, you're clean." Fine. You don't want to listen to me? I don't care. What I do care about is that the people that do listen to me learn what's going on when it comes to what's really going on with the government. Because that's one of the first things that rednecks learn to do is pay attention to what's going on with the government because we realize real quick that none of it's good for us. So hit like and subscribe and let's get into this.
Howdy, y'all. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. What we have here is a channel to communicate. I want you folks to be thinking by the time you leave my videos. Why? Because I'm tired of people talking via what other people tell them to think. So, watch my video and enjoy the chance to think for yourself.
Okay, so this article, despite dominating global production, China has a polysilicon problem. Having subsidized and encouraged production of this critical ingredient in solar cells and panels, the country now faces a massive oversupply. The result, ferocious domestic competition and pressure from top levels of government had to resolve the problem. In response, in late August, leading Chinese polysilicon producers indicated their intention to set up a $7 billion fund to manage the sector's overcapacity woes, an approach that presumably has the support of the powerful Communist Party, Politburo, and National Development and Reform Commission. The new polysilicon cartel aims to buy up excess production and ease less competitive firms out of operation. Solar power is critical for reducing emissions and mitigating the climate crisis. Really isn't, but whatever. But it's important to understand the darker side of the industry in China. Widespread human rights violations, including forced labor. The transition to renewable energy is essential, but the urgency to the climate crisis is not an excuse to ignore forced labor and gross human rights violations. About 25% of the solar grade polysilicon and 53% of the metallurgical grade silicon, which some manufacturers are starting to use in batteries for various products, including electric vehicles, used worldwide, comes from China's authorities, formerly called the Xinjiang Uyghur uh, Autonomous Region, XUAR, referred to some as Uyghurs as simply the Uyghur region or as East Turkestan. The once majority Uyghur population of the region, who are of Turkic descent, speak their own language, and are predominantly Muslim, have been the target of intense repression by the Chinese government. Since 2017, central and regional authorities have arbitrarily detained over 1 million people, subjugating them to political indoctrination, torture, family separations, and cultural and religious persecutions. Across the region, authorities also impose forced labor in industries ranging from cotton to tomatoes to polysilicon. The most recent authoritative report on the polysilicon industry, published by Sheffield Hallam University in November 2023, concluded that Chinese authorities deliberately located production in Xinjiang because of proximity to cheap coal, lack of enforced environmental regulations, and the difficulty of scrutinizing supply chains. Growing international concern about forced labor in the early stages of polysilicon production processes have prompted restrictions such as the United States 2021 Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, UFLPA. However, there is evidence that the polysilicon producers across the XUAR have continued to use state-imposed forced labor. In fact, research published in February 2024, based on Chinese government documents and state media reports, showed that authorities intend to at least maintain and possibly increase the number of people placed in coercive work assignments, including in the solar sector. In Chinese polysilicon producers, if Chinese polysilicon producers have $7 billion to spend on rectifying the industry, that they can afford to and should enforce labor in the sector, pay a living wage to workers, and pay damages to those forced to manufacture the product. Moreover, okay, this is just the rest of this article is just a whole bunch of, oh, this is what they should do. But now you're starting to see what is going on with what's going on in China and how this is affecting this solar power industry. Now, if you're wondering why I call this corporate welfare, states and federal governments in the U.S. subsidize solar through a mix of tax credits, rebates, grants, loans, and other policies like net metering and renewable portfolio standards, all of which reduce the financial burden of installation and energy generation. Primary federal mechanism is the Residential Clean Energy Credit, formerly the Investment Tax Credit, which allows homeowners to deduct a significant portion of solar installation costs from their federal income taxes. Now, this may look like it's helping the regular person. It's meaning that you can buy these forced labor created solar panels. Investment tax credit is currently 30% of the total installation cost for residential and commercial systems. It applies to the cost of equipment, panels, inverters, wiring, batteries, labor, and permitting fees. The credit is a non-refundable but can be rolled over to future tax years if it exceeds a homeowner's tax liability. Grants and loans. Federal agencies like the U.S. Department of Energy, Department of Agriculture, and Environmental Protection Agency offer grants and low-interest loan programs for qualifying renewable energy products, often aimed at low-income communities, schools, farms, and nonprofits. The Solar for All program, funded by the Inflation Reduction Act, provides billions in grants to states and territories to expand solar access to disadvantaged homes. Business incentives. Businesses can also benefit from commercial ITC 48 of the UX tax code and modified accelerated cost recovery system, which allows for accelerated depreciation of solar equipment. Okay, so that's federal. State and local governments and utility companies complement federal incentives with diverse location-specific programs, state tax credits and exemptions. Many states offer their own tax credits, which can be combined with federal ITC. Net metering, available in most states. Net metering is a billing mechanism that credits solar system owners for the excess electricity they generate and feed back into the grid. These credits can be used to offset future utility bills. Rebates and performance-based incentives. Some utility companies and state programs offer one-time cash rebates based on system size, while PBIs provide payments per kilowatt hour of energy generated over a set period. Solar renewable energy certificates in states with renewable portfolio standards. Regulations requiring utilities to source a certain percentage of electricity from renewables. Homeowners can earn SRECs for the power their systems generate. These certificates can then be sold to utility companies to help them meet their quotas. Low interest loans. State and local entities may facilitate low interest loan programs to help cover the upfront cost of installation. So the government's making sure that there's more solar panels, which means they're bringing in the whole thing of more forced labor that's happening over in China. No matter what people are going to say about China, China's still going to use forced labor. So you're looking at the U.S. government's been helping create this environment with all this forced labor. Hey, that's the truth of the situation. This is your tax dollars because, hey, Democrats constantly screaming they want more taxes because, well, you've got to pay your fair share, but they're making sure that there are tax credits and loans and all this stuff set up so you can get tax credit or so you can get solar power, which then empowers China because all of these products that are coming over here that are solar power have some connection to China. You're starting to get to see the picture. Corporate welfare is laced with forced labor, and it's all happening with your tax dollars. Because also, how many of these people that are involved in this, all these bureaucrats and whatnot, are getting paid by your dime? Just thought I'd bring this up to you. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. So, folks, that's the story that I wanted to bring you on this video. And I just wanted to say thank you again for coming by. Hit like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff if you don't mind. Help me out. So, y'all have a good day now. Bye.